Here are four important properties used in algebra: the additive inverse property, the multiplicative inverse property, the additive identity property, and the multiplicative identity property. The additive inverse property and the additive identity property deal with the number 0. The multiplicative inverse property and the multiplicative identity property deal with the number 1. The additive inverse property is about adding the inverse of a number, which equals 0. This is the way you undo something. The additive inverse. So it's the opposite. So if the number is negative, it's that positive version of the number. It's the opposite, the inverse. Let's look at some examples. 9 plus its additive inverse, negative 9, equals 0. Any number plus its additive inverse equals 0. Negative 7.5 plus 7.5 equals 0. So we started here with a negative number, so the additive inverse is its opposite, the positive number. The additive identity is 0. The additive identity property shows us how we maintain the identity of a number, how we don't change the identity, the value of a number. So if we have a number and we add 0, we still have the same number. It doesn't change it. That's why 0 is the additive identity. This is the number that won't change any other number when you add it to it. So the additive inverse property is about reaching 0. The additive identity property is about maintaining your identity with 0. We're still dealing with 0 in both of these. The multiplicative inverse property is the way we eliminate something through multiplication. We have a number and then we multiply, multiplicative, inverse. The inverse of f, the multiplicative inverse, is 1 over f, the reciprocal. So this whole number f could be written f over 1. The reciprocal is 1 over f. That is the multiplicative inverse. When we multiply a number to its multiplicative inverse, that equals that number over itself, which equals 1. So the multiplicative inverse property eliminates something being multiplied to something because we turn that number into 1, and 1 times anything is itself. The additive inverse property is the way we move something away from one side of the equation or the other by adding the inverse. The multiplicative identity is 1. This is the number, the only number that you can multiply to any number that won't change the number, that maintains the identity of the number. Here are some examples. B times 1 equals B. 1 times C equals C. 4 times 1 equals 4. 1 times 3 equals 3. 1/2 times 1 equals 1/2. 1 times negative 2/3 equals negative 2/3. I don't care what it is. If you multiply it by 1, it's still going to maintain its identity, be the same thing. Multiplicative inverse property. You multiply a number by its inverse or its reciprocal, the same thing. The multiplicative inverse of a number is its reciprocal. The multiplicative inverse of a number is its reciprocal. So you multiply a number times its reciprocal, and that equals 1. 9 times 1 over 9. 9 can be rewritten as a fraction, 9 over 1. The whole number 9 can be rewritten as a fraction, 9 over 1. 9 times 1 is 9. 1 times 9 is 9. 9 times its reciprocal equals 1. Negative 7/4 times negative 4/7 equals 28 over 28, which equals 1. Negative times negative equals positive. The multiplicative inverse property says that a number times its reciprocal equals 1, not negative 1. So I needed to multiply the reciprocal of this number, but keep the sign. I used the x in this example for multiplication. I used a dot in this example for multiplication. And I used parentheses in this example for multiplication. All of this is fine, however you prefer it. As you move along in algebra, we tend to get away from doing it this way because so often x is a variable in the equation, and that could be confusing. I hope this video was helpful. Please leave a comment. Have a great day.